Trust yourself.
Trust yourself. Welcome to the Hearse podcast. It's been a few days since we recorded the episode with my dad shortly after he lost his home in the fires, and I felt called, after spending this time with you, to do another episode from the vantage point of dust settling, tender grief, to see what else might be here beyond wisdom, beyond adrenaline, as the reality sets in. So I wrote this morning to capture some of the feelings I've been noticing in my heart and mind, and we'll see where we go. So this first part began, I texted a friend that you had lost your home because they were wondering, and they hearted the message on their iPhone. They essentially liked it, and then they quickly removed the heart because that's not appropriate, obviously. They didn't mean to say they loved that you lost your home, but I thought that was funny. So I wrote this little thing called Removing Hearts. The sun, a scary color that the sun should never be. When church bells become cannons and children's play an anxious scheme. And then this came through this morning, real tender, because I've been feeling a real tenderness. And then thinking about tender as money, obviously, so the play of that, to be real tender is real tender. And this is a ramble. We spoke the other day about Huxley's mescaline scribbles. The brainstem our species has clogged, intentionally so as to accomplish. Tongue-tied, stupefied, in the somehow soft palm of most prolific builder, if we knew we existed in the hand of a living God, we would do everything to forget, you said. As ash settles, adrenaline wears off, bone on bone knees ache, the foreign pillow refuses to let you lie. If I'm no longer of service, then living for myself is not enough, you whisper, driving you, Dad, feeling your sadness and fear, real tender, not the first time. And then I think of Bradley, all the fathers, mothers, humans, creatures, my heart, a Rube Goldberg device, fractals or expands, to make room for all those existing always on the quivering edge of no idea how they will go on. And even caveman symbols carefully collected and inscribed on inside of skull mean nothing to the matriarch's resolve. A blue heron, noble and out of time, poet bird, who makes me think of Hess, says to you, as we pick up rock from wilderness school, like a cryptic friend sent to provide you the illusion of warmth from another mountain to keep you from freezing. Remember that tale?
Yes.
The heron says, be still and wait. Watch. Allow. But when the child chases him, he flies away.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe allow is not the right word, not mine to give. In stillness, your word will come.
Wow.
So this morning, I texted a couple of our friends and asked them if they'd like to ask you anything. Sula, dear Sula, said this. How, with all you have seen and lived and been through, have you succeeded in keeping this tender heart of yours uncorrupted?
Hello, Sula. Sula in Beirut, whose childhood had bombs dropping and still does. I could ask the same thing of you, Sula. A wise friend of mine Beth, if you're listening, you know who you are. Many years ago when I was, as I think of it, a studio beast, and apparently riding very high in the material world, said to me, reminiscent of your question, Sula, she said, I've wondered how you maintained innocence for such an indecently long time. And I think I've figured it out, she said. I think you were in so much pain all the time that you never noticed what tempted the rest of us. She's wise, my friend. You too, Sula, you grew up in a war zone. I think the pain excavates us, keeps us from enjoying in the material world things that are certainly enjoyable, but they don't touch the pain. That same woman, Beth, many years ago she was divorced. She hadn't remarried, which she has very happily done now. And I visited her in a kind of remote part of Maine one summer, and she was with her son, who was about, 13 or 14 maybe, sporting a blue mohawk. They came to this little Maine town every summer. She'd done it as a child, and he'd done it his entire life, and they still do it every summer, all these decades later. And the three of us are sitting at table, and he's got a big chip on his shoulder, daring the world to. And Zach, you know that one. You know that one. You used to cross streets daring cabs to hit you like you were a matador in New York streets. Because anger's got to come out someplace. The pain has to come out someplace. So she said at a table, she said, would you please say something to my son, because he won't listen to me. And he looked at me like I should basically go fuck myself, which I understood. And I smiled and I said, you and I can guess what your mother wants me to say to you, but I'm not going to say that. I said, here's what I am going to say. You can do whatever you want. We all can. I said, to put a lurid stamp on it, I'm a guest in your house tonight. I will fall asleep. If you want to go out to the shit and get a chainsaw, you can take my head off. Nothing I can do about it. There will be consequences for you, I suspect, if you do that, but there's nothing stopping you. You can do anything you're willing to pay the price for. That's the truth. So if you want to walk through this little town in Maine where you've been your entire life so far and will continue to be in and tell everybody to fuck off, that's fine. You'll be back next summer and they're probably going to remember, and the consequences will be whatever they are. If you don't care about that and you're willing to pay that price, keep going. But just be willing to pay the price for whatever you do. That's it. Apparently, she said to me the next morning, he kind of liked that. What I know is that, and I've known it a long time, and I'm living it really. Hey, Sula. Hey, Zach. Hey, everybody. The two things I'm most afraid of are the words we use so easily, love and freedom. They scare the living shit out of me. And I don't think it's just me. I can do anything, just like I said to that boy with a blue mohawk, that I'm willing to pay the price for. That's more freedom than I, in my ordinary mind, know how to handle. The reason love is terrifying, this word that is so overused, it's become not even a bleached bone in the desert. Not even. What love really is is everything. And it's as tender as anything, and it's as violent as the fires that took, or the earthquakes or the tsunamis. Love goes where it wants and laughs at all my conditions. That's terrifying. You are a happily married man to a wonderful woman with a beautiful boy. It's possible, when you walk out of your house today, somebody's going to cross your path, a man or a woman or a horse, and you're going to fall so helplessly in love that you follow them and forget that you have a wife and a son and a home. Love can do that. And we don't want it to do that. We've got conditions. It's like the dragon on the beach, right? Or you have conditions. Anyway, hi, Sula. Thanks for the question.
Naomi, hello, Naomi, sent me this. You often say, need drives out love. Naomi wonders, does it? Maybe need needs to be redefined. Sometimes need exposes love. Think of all the folks showing up in the last days to give support. There's a difference between real need and perceived need that this time exposes. We do need each other. Alone works best when you are actually not alone. Spirit can show up in connection with others. And, she went on to say, we carry each other inside us. Rock, who's my son, will grow up and leave. But you will always have him in there. So you lose him, but you don't. Kind of like fire. There was wood, now there's heat and light, then only ashes. But all of it happened, and you never lose it in your heart.
Yes. Naomi, hello. We had a conversation this morning before this, and she actually read me that. So I got some crib cards before this. And I love what she wrote. She's a beautiful writer, and she wrote beautifully. I love what she wrote about rock in your heart. And I have always said for years, need drives out love. And what I mean by that, what I meant by that, because so much of the world is transactional. And love isn't. Love gives freely of itself without thinking of getting anything back. And I revisited that this morning, and in my condition or my dyslexia or whatever it was, I, for the first time, flipped it and said, love drives out need. And that's when she read me what she wrote to you. And I thought, well, maybe that's an even better way to say it. I love you, Zach. I'm looking at you right now. I don't need you. I love that I don't need you. I have needed you desperately. I adore you. My love doesn't need anything from you. My fear, my human monkey, that can clutch at you, and it has. That can want you to need me, and it has. All these things have I done. It's you and your brothers and everybody else I know that I care about. Since that wise podcast you did an hour after my arrival here, I've been through Saturday, Thursday. I have had tears and fear. I wake up in the morning, I don't want to get out of bed. I want to spend the rest of my life in bed with my eyes closed. But for much of my life years ago, when I wake up in the morning before I open my eyes, I'd say shit because I hadn't died in my sleep. So it's not like I haven't seen this place before. I'm told in a psych ward where they treat clinical depression, they set you very small tasks. Like today, David, you're going to brush your teeth. I don't think I can. Well, you're going to try. And maybe I brush my teeth and I go, well, I guess I could do that. And tomorrow, David, you're going to make your bed. Dave, we're just going to try. And maybe on the 7th day, you're going to give a little speech in the common room to all the other patients here. No! Well, let's just see it. Let's give it a go. I don't think you and your brothers have ever believed what an incredibly timid, frightened person I was for the first 28, 30 years of my life. Because you guys think I can talk to anybody. Didn't start out that way. And I'm glad it didn't. I cannot define love. Except that it's everything. It's everything. It's even the things I really hate. It's even the things I can't tolerate. Love is as close as we can get to the singularity, not the duality. And we live in duality. I'm me or you. Really? Yeah, here that's what it looks like. In the singularity, we are each other. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So since that podcast where I may have sounded a little chipper and like I got this wired, I don't. I really fucking don't. Today, I woke up an hour earlier than I have since I've been here. That was a triumph for me. Let's go back to the psych ward. And then I didn't want to get out of bed. And I got out of bed. And then I didn't want to go to the front desk and straighten out something. And I did. And I met a remarkable man named Donovan. I hadn't talked to before, who straightened something out on my reservations and my schedule. And I ended up laughing and crying with him. I thought, wow, that wouldn't happen if you didn't get out of bed, which I guess is Naomi's point. And then I go back to my room, and the Hispanic women who cleaned this Holiday Inn Express hotel, what a group of hardworking women. And I left my door ajar so they could get in when they needed to. And there's a woman cleaning my room that I don't think I'd seen before. Her name is Maria. My Spanish, to my shame, is basically non-existent. Her English was also non-existent. But she managed to tell me in Spanish that she knew my house had burned and she was so sorry for me. I was like, what the? And she seemed genuinely sorry for me. And if I understood her correctly, she told me that in her house, wherever she lives, if I needed it, she had a bed. And I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. And I think she told me that she had a child who died when he was 2. So she knew about sorrow. And we hugged. I kissed her hands. I love stones, as you know, Zach. Most of my stones are underneath all those ashes and slag, and I'm not going to go back and look for them. They've got their own journey. I managed to rescue 5 stones that I care about. It's funny about stuff, isn't it? I gave one to Maria today. How could I not? How could I not? And then another Hispanic woman was cleaning the bathroom while I was awkwardly trying to help her make the bed. And she's cleaning the bed, and I go in, and her name is Jasmine, and she speaks a little English, and I tried to give her $5, and she wouldn't take it. She wouldn't take it. She wouldn't fucking take it. With the most beautiful smile. And then at the end of this, I asked Maria if I could do a selfie with her. So I did a selfie with my phone of the two of us, and I will send you her photograph, our photograph. And I wanted her to have it, and she has a cell phone, but I couldn't explain how to get it to her. And so Jasmine came out of the bathroom, and she heard my English, and then she translated to Maria in Spanish. So Maria now has the photograph too. Thank God. I can't get to that without tenderness. I can't do that without being totally vulnerable. And to everything. I can't feel your pain any more than I'm willing to feel my own. If I don't want to feel my pain, I don't give a fuck about your pain. Second to last psilocybin journey, I did a big one by myself, a really big one. I've told you this. Around 2 a.m., lying on the dirt I'll never see again, I think. I hear the mushrooms say, "You've been ambivalent about being alive your entire life. It ends tonight." And I go, whoa. They go, yeah. So choose life or death. It was a 5-gram journey. I listened. They said, if you choose death, don't worry about it. You don't have to kill yourself. We'll handle it. Because with 3 sons, I can't kill myself. It leaves the door open for you guys. I can't do that. They said, don't worry. I said, wow, that's cool. You mean like a heart attack or an embolism, some shit? And they went, yeah, don't worry. We'll handle it. Choose. So I chose life. And in my hands outstretched over my head, lying face down in the dirt, I had that crystal block from the Sinai from years before with a crucified Christ in it, who talked to me once years before in Florida. It's now gone in the fire. I mean, it's gone wherever things go. And that voice said, you've now chosen my path. You've chosen absolute and total vulnerability for the rest of your time in that body. You're going to feel everything you have to feel and everything everybody else has to feel. Mm-hmm. And I went, whoa. Okay. 2 days later, I'm walking alone up on this beautiful hill, and I fall. I'm trying to tie a shoe. I don't remember falling. And the top of my head hurts terribly. I hit a concrete footer on. I had my shoe on to try to tie my shoe because my hamstrings are too tight. I'm alone. I'm at eye level with a concrete footer. Top of my head feels like I should be drenched in blood, but there is no blood. I'm alone. 2 days later, I realize what happened, and I start to sob. And I go, oh my God, that is so elegant. They didn't have to show me that.
How you would have died.
They showed me how I would have died had I made the other choice. I would have hit it just an inch or two differently, and I would have had a major brain bleed, and I'd be gone. Old man hiking falls and kills him and dies. They didn't have to show me that.
I like the they too.
It's not Christ. It's not God.
No, but I do like the they that's coming through, whether it's Bear's Belly, whether it's
yes.
Molly listening to the telepathy tapes this morning, which through her comes highly recommended. In the episode she's now listening to, I guess the gist of it, as I've mentioned to you, of the show is a scientist or multiple researchers finding evidence and working with people, a lot of whom are nonverbal autistic people who apparently are not only, when assumed nonverbal or kind of no one's home, not only are they home, but a lot of them are actually incredibly educated via telepathy, and they meet with each other remotely, and they call them the talks on the hill. And the one Molly mentioned this morning was about how one of them named John Paul died from having a seizure in some sort of body of water, and he drowned. And all of his friends who telepathically connect with him knew he died before they were told or before anyone else did. And they were talking to him now that he was gone and told everyone that he's now free and that he can talk now where he is. And that the gist of his message, or one of his messages to everyone, was make your life all about love, basically. So I just think of the they,
Yes.
whoever they are,
Yep.
and all these ways they come through and knock on the door. And again, not to try to be chipper in our cognitive grokking or understanding of that, or thinking we understand, but there's definitely something here around us always.
I think the problem for me with stories and writing, and I'm a storyteller and a writer like you,
Yeah.
it's kind of like the wood that Naomi referenced with you. As soon as the story comes through, I got to let it go.
Exactly.
Because when if I hang on to the stories I just told you about Maria and Donovan,
Yeah.
I'll turn them into stone.
Yeah.
I have to let them go.
Well, then ironically, my good friend JK5, Joseph, who sent you that message after the first one, who tattooed you and me. What's up, Joey? He wondered what mantra or words or piece of a poem keeps you the calmest.
The word yes. Hey, Joey. Thanks for the tattoo. Spent a long time with the bear recently. You were there.
The word yes. From Michael, Prospect Lux. Has this experience of losing all worldly possessions impacted your sense of gratitude in life? Do you feel lighter now?
I'm scared shitless, Michael, and I'm full of gratitude. And I don't have a snappy answer to your precise question. I can only tell you I'm grateful, I'm terrified, and I'm glad to be terrified.
That's what Howard, my friend at the gym, who's lived many lives, he's probably early 80s, late 70s. He's a funny cat who I've had brief exchanges with. And he came up to me the other day as I'm on the elliptical, and he has this twinkle in his eye, and he says, there's a lot going on right now. And he mentioned that he's afraid often, and that for him, that's a signifier that he's doing something right when he's afraid. And then he looked at me again, paused, and said, it's going to be fine. Samantha, a lot of the people who I texted basically just said they're, nothing really they want to know specifically, just grateful that we're talking. But Samantha said maybe, a maybe question. What's in the pearl that you referenced in the last discussion from your poem, The Pearl That Costs Everything? What do you think's in the pearl?
This conversation. This moment. Hey, Sam.
Hey, Samantha. And then Patricia sent this, which I'm not sure I understand exactly. I know. Thank you so much, Patricia, for sending this in during your busy day. A lot going on your side, all of our sides, I imagine. You, David, keep telling her that you realized in ways you've been here before.
I have a sense from basically indigenous people and maybe the 5 years of Vision Quest I've done in a Lakota way and the time. And I've had shamanic teachers for over 40 years. And I'm not a shaman, but I sure know some. And they've been very kind to me. and tough with me. And it's the thing about shamanism is, which is older than any religion by leaps and bounds, is that everything's alive. Everything's alive. Everything has a spirit. And in that world, the idea of one life being all you get, it doesn't work like that. And I've had experiences of, but I don't have to, it's like what I said to you about stories, Zach, I don't have to turn it into stone. I've had many experiences that tell me, not that my personality's eternal, God help us, I hope not, but the thing that animates me and you is eternal. And I've had an experience in what I guess we have to call the void, which basically is the singularity, I think. And there was no me. There was no you. There was no object. And everything was there. And nothing was there. And I've had a feeling for a long time, it's a metaphor that I've used for myself, like I reminded myself for years that I was a drop of water who was terrified of the ocean because I thought the ocean meant annihilation. And really the ocean is home. So when I speak of other lives, I think I think we're kind of at the universe, thank God, is a mystery, and apparently it's a many-layered mystery, and thank God it's a mystery. And if I'm even in kindergarten, I may be giving myself more credit than I deserve. We have a relative, you and I, in Kansas City. Hello, Jennifer. Who's, among other things, a Sufi who's had one of the harder childhoods I've ever heard of. And she told me a story about, as Sufis often go to visit sacred objects, and you remember George was a Sufi.
Yeah.
Hey, George. So she's on a bus somewhere in Turkey visiting sacred sites, and she's sitting by herself, and suddenly she kind of spins out into somewhere in the universe, some exalted place where the city is, like, Jennifer, I apologize, it's my memory of what you said. Beautiful and shiny and gold and silver, and it was like, oh my God. And she said to herself on that bus, okay, if this exists somewhere in the universe, then I'm willing to live in this dark swamp. I like that.
Yeah. Me too. So I feel as the garbage trucks take the garbage out that we've taken the garbage out enough today.
I think we've done a great job. Thank you for this.
But I want to end it with 3 last little things. Maybe 2, we'll see. So reading Hearse again, and this time really going in and finding his more obscure works as well. Narcissus and Goldmund is one of Molly and my favorites. But it all bleeds together into just, I adore that man. In that book, there's a wonderful description of the pangs of yearnings in the character. Hello, train. We're at a busy intersection today. A lot going on.
I just feel Johnny Cash.
It's Johnny Cash. Narcissus and Goldmund. Goldmund is the character who is more worldly and wandering and is not able to stay in the monastery because he's a man of the senses. He's a sensual man, and Narcissus is a man of the mind. And a lot of Hesse's work is dealing with that tension between the intellectual, the spiritual, and the senses. Obviously, Steppenwolf as well.
Yeah.
And at one point, Goldman becomes a man of the road. So he's a wanderer, which obviously was different back then. But he's basically homeless, relying on the wilderness and the kindness of strangers and traveling with nothing. And he loves that. It keeps him on the edge. It keeps him, meeting. He's a kind of, I guess, promiscuous, if you will. He sleeps with many women. He's a beautiful man. But he's an artist. He's a sculptor. He's this, but he's on the edge all the time. And he loves this, the cold, the forest, the hunger, And at one point he meets a master sculptor, and he has a great desire to apprentice with him and learn, because he saw a Madonna that this man captured that was so vivid and alive in this statue that he wanted to be able to do that. So he apprentices with him and reaches a point where he makes something that the master recognizes as masterful. And the master, who begrudgingly took him on in the first place because he was way older than the average apprentice and kind of a ruffian from the road, offers him a membership in the guild and basically a life of wealth as a master sculptor with a home, with everything. So he thinks that Goldman is going to be, over the moon about this opportunity. And Goldman refuses, of course, and goes back on the road. And he describes seeing people in their houses and the safety, and even the master. He can recognize some beauty in the master, obviously, but it feels like he's stuck, like he's atrophied, Then many moons pass, and he experiences the plague while on the road, which is some of the most viscerally horrifying, intense human experiences that I've ever read, is Goldman's experience traveling during the plague. And by the time he returns, the master is dead. And there's this moment where he's looking around the town, which he had left with the promise of being able to be there and live there and be successful. And now he feels frail and frightened and almost wishes that he did have that home, did have that safety, did have that buffer against the elements. So I just wanted to, seeing that in you, seeing that in myself.
Thank you.
And it doesn't have to be literal for me. It's not literal. There's no matter how sexy the horse is that I might meet in the pastures yonder, I'm not following anyone. I can tell you that for sure. For certain. I know I should be careful what I say, but yeah, for me, it doesn't have to be so literal, but it's a moment to moment, experience of.
You're more evolved than I am. I'm clumsy. I got that.
No, it's not even. We're all different. But anyway, I just wanted to point that out and to see the freedom and then the fear. And we talked about in the last one, the dog and the wolf. But yeah, that Narcissus, you should read, whoever's listening, or reread that book right now. It's pretty poignant in certain ways about what life is really all about when it boils down. The point of it,
from this, the privilege you've given me in this today, the fear that he feels at the end, that's a gift too.
Yeah.
It's only going to take him deeper.
And he ends up being somewhat withered and broken and then dies, but it's almost like he got it out of his system, and it was there. It had to come out of his system.
He lived a full life.
Yeah. And so I've been thinking about the little boy in you, who you referenced, even the young man who is shyer, and now you're what you often say in almost all of the poems you write now, an old man wonders, an old man, etc. So you're wearing that costume of old man. And yeah, dropping you off yesterday, I just felt a lot of tenderness. You see my simple life, just tending house, watching British baking at night, and just feeling the fragility, especially of our parents, which I've seen in you before, and I'm grateful for that.
Yes, yeah.
You've never been the strong, macho dad who acts super tough all the time, but it's particularly tender. And yeah, Molly and I just, in her words, how you're a real sweet guy, man, like sweet soul, sweet heart. And it's good to be tongue-tied, I think, in the fear. Like you said, it is a blessing, or to be fragile. So that's really what I hope we're highlighting a bit here, and I think we did. And last but not least, obviously add what you want. I felt called to read this poem by Robert Bly, which I don't know if I've shared on the show before, but I think it might be one of my all-time favorite poems, in the sense that the message it conveys of what our purpose is as humans is pretty spectacular to me. You probably know it. Keeping our small boat afloat. So many blessings have been given to us during the first distribution of light, that we are admired in 1,000 galaxies for our grief. Don't expect us to appreciate creation or to avoid mistakes. Each of us is a latecomer to the earth, picking up wood for the fire. Every night another beam of light slips out from the oyster's closed eye. So don't give up hope that the door of mercy may still be open. Set and Shem, tell me, are you still grieving over the spark of light that descended with no defender near into the Egypt of Mary's womb? It's hard to grasp how much generosity is involved in letting us go on breathing when we contribute nothing valuable but our grief. Each of us deserves to be forgiven, if only for our persistence in keeping our small boat afloat when so many have gone down in the storm.
Wow. I don't know that poem. Thank you. Will you send me that?
Of course.
I used to know, I had no Bly, but when I would work with Michael Mead and Meladoma, he was there sometimes. He had a poem that I think I have rewritten, shortened. As I remember it, it goes like this: the board in the stream wants for nothing as it floats toward the ocean. The heron in the marsh at dawn wants the god of sun and moon to see his long skinny neck. The elephant on the mountain wants a trumpet so the stars will hear his dying cry. I want to be, and I am, the man who will love you. When your hair is white, you must say what you want.
I don't feel no justice in these loveless streets. Looking down my window as the same song repeats. I gotta let go. I gotta let go. I gotta let go to get my release. I gotta let go. I gotta let go. I gotta let go to get my release. I let it go to my head and leapt off the ledge and built the wings as I fell. Oh, it must have been something someone said. Cause I used to be blind, but then I lost my mind. So little darling, you should lose yours too, so you don't get left behind. I don't feel no justice in these loveless streets. Looking down my window as the same song repeats. I gotta let go. I gotta let go. I gotta let go to get my release. I gotta let go. I x-ray my soul through skeleton headphones. Black the whole world out till I only heard you and your holy moans. Suicide reborn, camouflaged by the storm. I put all of my faith in you. I don't feel no justice in these loveless streets. Looking out my window as the same song repeats. I gotta let go. I gotta let go. I gotta let go to get my release. I gotta let go. Muse don't listen to the news, she's out. Bird's eye view like a Navajo scout. Art shouldn't grow from society's mouth. No society should quote what the art throws out. The muse don't listen to the news, she's out. Bird's eye view like a Navajo scout. Art shouldn't grow from society's mouth. No society should quote what the art throws out. Yeah.
I'm telling you, I had a good time playing, man. I really did.